Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, Aimfill is here to make you fly. Sky is so high, if you don't know how to fly, Aimfill is here to make you fly. Here we go.
Country, not domestically, but when you fly international, aviation comes into picture. You cannot go by train to, for example, Dubai, right? So you have to go by plane, and these everything, the SOPs, all these things comes under aviation. Okay, so now aviation have different segments, different sectors, you can say. So one is commercial, the another one is, come on guys, the another one is
Cargo.
The third military. So these are the three main different types of segments which we have in aviation. So commercial is one where you carry passengers from point A to point B. That is commercial aircraft with passengers on board. Cargo, when you send goods from point A to point B in the aircraft, is called cargo. Military is actually, they have the aircraft which carry weapons, and those aircraft has been used in wars. Okay, so these are the three major different segments which we have in aviation. So now, who make the SOPs in aviation? DGCA. DGCA makes all the SOPs in aviation, whatever is right, whatever is wrong, and you're supposed to follow. Each and every airline, whether it's a domestic or international airline of that particular country. I'm sorry? Okay, so they're supposed to follow the SOPs of whether you are flying international or you are flying domestic of that particular country. They have a particular authority, and in India that authority is called DGCA. Okay, now DGCA supposed to report someone also. So DGCA report to ICAO. So in case there is any new SOPs is coming, anything new which is coming, the ICAO make the SOP for the whole world, right? And DGCA is supposed to follow that SOP in India. And in different countries, they have different authorities. You don't need to know the name of all the authorities. You just need to know the name of Indian authority, that is DGCA. Understood? Okay, so now who will tell me the full form of DGCA? Yes, Janvi, go ahead.
Directorate General of Civil Aviation.
Directorate General of Civil Aviation, right. ICAO?
International. I'm a little bit confused that I Google it, so it's coming something else.
Aviation Organization.
I'm sorry, Krishna, could you please repeat?
International Civil Aviation Organization.
International Civil Aviation Organization. Okay. What is AAI?
Airport Authority of
Airport Authority of India. Very good, Krishna.
Yes.
So all these terms are interrelated. If you see, ICAO makes the SOP for whole world. DGCA is the authority which follow the SOPs in India and make sure that each and every those SOPs. What is AAI? It is Airport Authority of India. So all the airports in India comes under this authority, and whatever the new thing, for example, there is a new change in the airports, they will make the SOPs for those airports. Okay, so they have to get an approval wherever you in India, wherever there is a new airport isn't making, so they need to get the permission from Airport Authority of India. And what they check that all the SOPs, all the things which are required for an airport is there or not. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, now who will tell me where the captain sits? What do we call that side of the aircraft?
Port side.
Cockpit.
Port side. captain sits in the cockpit, but which side? The side is
Left
port
side.
side. Where the officer sits?
Left.
On the right side, starboard.
Starboard.
Starboard side. Okay. What do we call the body of the aircraft?
Fuselage.
Fuselage.
Great. And what do we call the back of the aircraft?
Rear. Right.
Where are the landing gears? This is something out of course which I have not tell you, right? Anybody you or the old students, do you know where are the landing gears? I feel like killing myself. Is it at the top of the aircraft, right? The landing gears are at the roof of the aircraft. Right?
Belly.
Generally, aircraft lands upside down.
Below the aircraft.
Exactly. It's so simple, guys. Come on. It's not something which I have not told you and I have not answered. You know, this is so basic. At the belly of the aircraft, at the bottom of the aircraft, there are landing gears. Okay, so landing gears at the bottom of the aircraft, or you can say at the belly of the aircraft. So the new students, the lower portion of the aircraft where the landing gears are, we call it belly of the aircraft.
Okay, ma'am.
Alright? Okay, great. So, what else? Let me check what other abbreviations we discussed that day. Who is ACM?
Additional crew member.
What is the additional crew member? Why do we need additional crew member on board?
Because additional crew member has a duty from somewhere else.
Okay. Yes, right.
So for the aft part, they travel with us, with the uniforms, but they don't do any work.
Right. But they can help if they want to. It's not like they cannot get up from the seat and cannot help you in case you guys need something and you are operating. They can help you. But if they don't want to, then you can't force them to work. Okay, so it's their courtesy. If they want to work, they will work. If they don't want to work, they want to sit on the seat and enjoy the services, they can do that also. Because further, they will go and they will work. Thank you so much, Shubham. I did just saw the chat box and you have answered it. Yeah, it's at the bottom of the aircraft. Okay, so what is APU?
Auxiliary power unit.
Auxiliary power unit.
What is auxiliary power unit?
Auxiliary power unit.
What is that?
It's actually a turbine where the light and air condition all are working from help of auxiliary power unit.
Okay, so auxiliary power unit is actually a turbine which helps to start the engine and provide, it gives light, it provides you cabin lights, the emergency light in case of emergency, all the other lights will go off and only the emergency lights will be switched on, and that with the help of APU. Okay, so if somebody asks you what is APU, it is a turbine which helps to start the engines. That is the proper definition of it. You want to write it down, you can write it down. Okay, I am revising all this because again you have to make a presentation on this and because this topic is already covered. And everybody will make, because it's a very small topic, so everybody is supposed to make the presentation on aviation management only. Okay, in which the way I have discussed what is aviation, what are the different segments or factors which we have in aviation, what is the role of ICA, what is the role of DGCA, and all these abbreviations, the way I'm explaining where the captain sits, where the first officer sits, what do we call the body of the aircraft, all these things you have to put in the presentation, and it should look presentable. It should not be like you are talking about anything or everything. Okay, so make it a story if you want to, and then say it. And whenever there is a presentation, there will be a announcement in it. Announcements are mandatory. So the way everybody has seen Shubham's presentation regarding decompression. So did you see the way he did the announcement in between? It actually looked like a part of the presentation, right? So do something like that. So you should not the announcement should not look different from what you are talking about. So in the decompression presentation, and in between that he did the announcement of fastening the seatbelt. So it was not looking very awkward. It was looking a part of the presentation. So that was really nice. Alright. Okay, what is ATC?
Air traffic control.
Air traffic
It is the role of air traffic control.
The control traffic in the air.
Sorry Krishna, could you please repeat
Control
that?
all the traffic in the air. Control all the traffic in the air.
Control the traffic in the air. Right.
Yeah.
Yes, Umra, I can see you. Okay, yes. The air traffic control, it actually helps to control the traffic in the air. Right? Okay, what is ATCC?
Air traffic control.
Air traffic control center.
Anybody of you have seen the air traffic control center?
Yes. Kochi airport.
Nobody is allowed to go there, but it's a very huge building, very tall building, and the office is at the top of the tower. Do you know why?
The flights maybe.
Yeah, actually from that particular point you can see the whole airport, especially the runways and the aircrafts. So it's kind of a very huge tower, and the office is at the top of the tower, and not any and everybody is allowed there. There are few people, those who work there are allowed there, or maybe special permission. With the special permission, the visitors can go and visit, but not everyone. Okay, it's a very sensitive area. Alright. Alternate setting APP view. It is. Okay, what is base?
Military airport.
What is military airport? You have to give me a proper answer, Umra. Yes, it is right, but give me a proper answer.
Where all the aircrafts are parked.
So base we call military airport base. Why do we call them base? Any idea? Any idea? So we use base for military airports only. Okay, so listen to me properly now. Base is actually the hub of a particular airline where they have their office at the airport. They park their aircraft in the night at that particular base, at that particular airport. Okay, and those bases are generally in a bigger city, Delhi, Bombay. Most of the domestic airline, for example, Indigo or Air Asia, you can say, these airlines have their bases in most of the cities actually, but those cities are metro cities. They don't have base in Amritsar. They don't have a base in for say which other country city? I mean, the very small cities, I can't recall any. Amritsar is one of them because I stay there, so I know. They don't have a base there. Okay, flights do fly to that destination, but they fly there, they land there, the passengers deplane, and the new passengers board the aircraft, and then they fly again from that particular place, particular airport. They don't park their aircrafts in that particular airport for the whole night. Okay, so where they have an office, they don't have office in Amritsar. So when I say office, that means office at the terminal building where the cabin crew comes and reports. Okay, so they don't have that office in. I'm just talking about Amritsar right now. So they don't have. Indigo doesn't have a base in Amritsar. So no cabin crew will stay Amritsar and start. They don't have a base in Amritsar. So, for example, if I say that I have a base in Delhi, that means I start my duty from Delhi. But no cabin crew will start their duty from Amritsar because they don't have an office there, so nobody can come and report at Amritsar's office because there is no office. Is that clear to everyone? They have office in Bangalore, they have office in Mumbai, they have office in Delhi, Kolkata, so all the metro cities. Understood? That's why we call it base. And especially the military aircrafts, we call them base, air base. Is that clear to everyone? Okay, what else we were talking about? CAPT, anybody knows what does that mean? I'll write it down in the chat box, just have a look. What is that? CAPT?
Captain.
Captain, right. Okay, anybody knows what is CBR? Any idea what is CBR?
No.
No? Nobody knows? Okay, so have you heard about the black box in the aircraft? Whenever there is an air crash or anything happens like that, they just look for the CVR, the black box in the cockpit. Okay, first of all, the full form of CVR is Cockpit Voice Recorder. This is very important, guys. Yes, right, Shivam. So, CVR is actually, we generally call it, in layman language, we call it black box. So whenever there is an air crash or hijacking or anything happens like that, they look for the black box. They look for the CVR because even the aircraft, hijacked or if the aircraft crash, nothing will happen to the black box. Okay, so they take out the black box from the aircraft and they listen to the conversation of the captain and the first officer. That means what was going on in the cockpit at the time of air crash or hijacking. Understood? So yesterday you saw a video regarding 9/11 hijacking, right? So you were listening to the calls, those were the actual calls. The hijacker was saying something to the ATC, right? So that was the actual word which they came to know with the help of CVR. They took out the CVR of that particular aircraft and then they listened to it. And that was the conversation which you heard yesterday, was the actual conversation which happened between the ATC and the hijacker. Is that clear? Understood? CVR is very, very important. Don't forget it. Who will explain me what is CVR? What is CVR? Guys, come on.
Cockpit voice recorder.
What does that mean? What it does?
It's like a recorder. Like whatever the pilot and the co-pilot talk, it gets recorded. And if there is any crash or hijack, then the concerned authority can check that what was going on during that time.
Exactly. So let me just see if we have any video on CVR. I really want to show you what CVR is because it's very important. By the time, just go through what I have teach you and just ask me if you have any questions. Okay, so there is no okay, yeah. So I actually got a video regarding that. Let me see.
And free education for life. Book of free holy thoughts. Why actually?
Okay, guys, I will show you a video that how the cockpit voice recorder works and where it is. So just have a look. Okay. So we'll discuss it at the end of the video. Okay. Shall I play? Can you guys see the screen? Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Video about the famous black box you've certainly heard about after any recent airplane incident. We'll be looking at it in close detail, its primary functions, why it's placed at the back of the plane, why is it orange, and what's that going to do with a dropping water bottle. So let's start recording.
Well, the 693 is the ramp with you in first to the tuck, and I know I'm asking a crazy question like they know, but I figured I'd ask.
Sadly, after any airplane incident or crash involving numerous victims, the media is all over it, and you very often hear the reporters say,
"Their urgent search for the black boxes. The flight data and cockpit voice recorders
recently detected are from the plane's black box."
Yes, this apparent discovery of one of the black boxes comes on.
So what is this black box they always seem to be looking for? Now, the black box is very often actually split in two black boxes, which will help the investigators to determine what and how it led to the accident. Each box roughly weighs 20 pounds and each have the size of a shoebox. One of them is the CVR, the Cockpit Voice Recorder. Now picture a classic tape recorder with 4 microphone cables attached to it. One leading into the radio control panels to record any communication between the pilots and the air traffic controllers, one recording all conversations via the intercom within the cockpit, and another one leading to the overhead panel microphone, recording like ambient sounds of the cockpit, such as engine sounds and oral warnings. When does it and how much does it record? It automatically starts recording in flight and on ground when at least one engine is running and for a few minutes after the last engine was shut down. But on most planes, you have the option to manually start the CVR by pressing a button on its respective panel. The CVR records the last 2 hours of crew conversation and communication with the ATC. So whenever you arrive at the gate and shut down the engines, you could listen to the last 2 hours of conversation. Well, you can't really within the cockpit. You would have to detach the recorder from its housing and place it into like a special docking station to listen to it. Funny enough, Airbus and Boeing models have a CVR erase button. Once you press that, all the latest recordings get erased. I recently flew with a captain who asked, "Man, have we talked any smack about our CEO in the last 2 hours? I better delete the recordings anyway." I just pressed the button. The other recorder, or the second black box, is the flight data recorder. Now, the flight data recorder, also known as the ADR, the accident data recorder, records data at a much larger scale than the CDR. Now, the FAA regulates that the FDR must monitor at least 88 important parameters such as altitude, airspeed, heading, aircraft attitude for a minimum of 25 hours. Nowadays, FDRs made by Honeywell, for instance, can record up to 1,000 in-flight parameters and characteristics such as the flap position, the autopilot modes, weather radar readouts, and much, much more to aid the investigators. Now, this then allows the retrieved data from the FDR to generate a computer-animated video reconstructing the flight before and during the crash, which then can look very similar to this animation. So the combination of the visual part by the FDR and the audio by the CDR enables a realistic picture for investigators. So with the collected data from both recorders, the investigators then determine whether an accident was caused by pilot error, by an external event such as a wind shear, for example, or an airplane technical failure.
Cactus 15.9, turn left lane 270. This is Cactus 1539. Hit birds to lost thrust on both engines, returning back towards LaGuardia. Okay, you need to return to LaGuardia. Turn left heading up 220. 220.
Why is it often placed near the tail of the airplane? If you look at airplane crash investigation footage, you very often see the tail cone and the rudder intact compared to the rest of the wreckage. Why is that so? Now, the after section of the plane is structurally much stronger than other parts of the plane as the metal panels all come together, needing overall more stringers and framing, which stiffens the tail cone section. Therefore, my German physicist has come up with a great experience using a water bottle to show you the stiffness of the airplane's tail cone. Now, we are imagining that the glass bottle is our airplane, with the bottleneck being the tail cone section of the airplane. Due to the manufacturing process of the glass bottle, the bottleneck is thicker due to its narrow diameter, making it stronger than the rest of the bottle and remains intact after applying force to it, similar to the tail cone after a crash landing. So it makes sense to place the black box back here then, right? Well, by just placing it here won't make it unbreakable. That's why the recorders are in a box wrapped in strong corrosion-resistant stainless steel or titanium, giving it an impact tolerance of 3,400 Gs. And with a high-temperature insulation, it can resist 1,100 degrees Celsius for 13 minutes. But even more important is this little tube you see at the side of most FDRs. Now, this is the underwater locator beacon that emits an ultrasonic ping every second to aid in detection when submerged underwater. Now, these beacons operate or transmit on a 37.5 kilohertz frequency for up to a minimum of 30 days and are able to operate while immersed to a depth of up to 20,000 feet. Please do not mistake this with the ELT. That's a whole nother story. So how do they find the black box? Unfortunately, it requires a lot of time and effort to narrow down the estimated location of the crashed plane, especially in our oceans. But once the estimated position is evaluated, they deploy a so-called pinger locator. Now, this device will be towed behind the search and rescue ship, looking to pick up the signal emitted from the pinger. Sadly, these devices are extremely expensive and fragile, and only a few of them exist. And the last question, why is the box orange or red and not black, hence its name? Now, there are a few rumors about this one. Now, one explanation, calling it a black box, comes from the early film-based designs of the flight data recorder, which required the inside of the recorder to be perfectly dark to prevent light leaks from corrupting the recordings, comparable to a photographer's darkroom. Others say that during the Second World War, the Brits equipped their bombers fighting the Germans with prototype flight data recorders, which were handmade metal boxes painted black to prevent reflections, and after time, any piece of new electronics was referred to as the box of tricks, like an illusionist's box, or the black box. Nowadays they are painted in bright orange, red, heat-resistant colors to make them easier detectable in all the white, greenish debris. Old versus new recorders. Now, also interesting to know is that former CDRs and FDRs actually were recording onto magnetic tapes similar to the ones in a classic tape recorder. But over time, they became more and more prone to vibrations, and often the data was lost or damaged if the plane had crashed into water due to humidity building up within the box. So the latest designs nowadays use solid-state memory similar to an SD card and digital recording techniques, making them much more resistant to shock, vibration and moisture. By the way, one of the best movies to watch regarding readouts from the black box is Sully. You could say, besides his outstanding performance as a pilot, the black box actually saved his reputation as a pilot. But see for yourself. One more thing I want to point out here is that I very often get asked to do reviews on recent airplane crashes. I can't and I won't be doing such videos as I'm a pilot and not an airplane crash investigator. Other channels do that, and I find it very disrespectful towards the victims and loved ones as they are trying to gain views due to the media attention latest crashes are receiving. Just wait until the final crash report is out. They are sad enough, but these guys really know what they're doing. That's it for today. Thank you very much for your time. To become my wingman, hit that subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you won't miss out upcoming videos.
Alright guys, have you seen the video?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you understand the importance of CVR? How important it is, where it is located, why it is located there? Who will explain me? Come on, quickly. Guys, you just saw a video, come on.
Because the backside of the plane is much stronger than the front.
I'm sorry?
Because the backside of the plane is much stronger than the front.
Okay. You're supposed to tell me where it is located, so you just answer your question. Okay, it's located at the back of the aircraft. Why it is located at the back of the aircraft? So, Johnny, are you saying the forward side of the aircraft is not strong enough, but the back side is?
The backside is more stronger than the forward side.
So the chances when the aircraft crashes somewhere, the chances of the backside, the rear of the aircraft is quite safe, because if the pilot is flying and going, for example, let's take an example of the air crash, which was the latest air crash which happened.
In Kozhikode.
Kozhikode, right. So that was the latest air crash which happened, and in that aircraft, the aircraft skids off the runway. That means the front portion of the aircraft, when it dives down somewhere, it dives down, I don't know where exactly, but it dives down like that. So the front portion of the aircraft actually hit the ground. The rear, generally, most of the time, in case of air crash, even if there is a bomb on board, I will tell you later the bomb, that thing. But when the aircraft dive down to something, the front portion of the aircraft actually broke, but the rear generally stays. Okay, so that's why black box has been located at the back of the aircraft. Okay, alright, what else? What else do you know or do you understood by this? What is the importance of CVR? Why CVR is there?
For the air crash investigation.
Because?
for the aircraft investigation, how the accident happened and what was it?
Very good. Yes, actually black box is there because it helps in the investigation of the air crash, hijacking or any kind of emergency. Okay, and you know what, in airlines, in any airline, they generally take out the CVR recordings and start investigation and take an audit of it. Captains are not allowed to switch it off at any point in time during the flight or even on ground. Okay, once the aircraft is grounded, once the aircraft is not going to fly to another sector, then the pilots will close everything and switch off the CVR. Only then. But if the aircraft is landed, it's standing in a transit flight. Do you understand what transit flights are? No. So, for example, you have flown from Delhi to Bombay. Okay, and the aircraft landed in Bombay for around 30-40 minutes. The passengers deplane, the new passengers come on board, and then they fly from, for example, Mumbai to Delhi back. So the time between that, when they landed in a particular aircraft, in a particular airport, and after that when they have to start from there, that time is called transit time. Understood? Like we have a break or recess in our schools. After few periods, for example, after first 5 periods we have a recess, and then we have 4 more periods. So that recess time is actually a transit time where the passengers deplane and the new passengers come on board. So in that transit time, cleaning happens, checking of the cabin happens, everything happens in those 30-40 minutes. Okay, so that is the transit time. So during that transit time, captains are not allowed to switch off the CVR. CVR should be on all the time in all the phases of the flight. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
With DGC especially, they can take any flight and they can read any, they can ask for any CVR recordings, and if the captain has done any kind of blunder in that flight, the captain is answerable. Okay, so captains are very professional and very careful when they are in the cockpit and when they are talking, because everything is getting recorded there. Understood? Any doubts in CVR? Any doubt, guys? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. Let me see another. Okay, so when do you guys can submit the presentation first thing about aviation management? Quickly.
Monday.
Today is what? Wednesday. You need Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You need 4 days for that. I cannot give you 4 days, I'm sorry. I can give you 2 days. So before your weekend, you're supposed to submit it. So today is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Can you submit it on Friday? So have fun on Saturday, Sunday. No, why you want to sit and work on your presentation on Saturdays and Sundays? If I give you till Monday, then I'm sure nobody will work for these 2 days and they will work on Saturday and Sunday only. Why you want to spoil your weekends? Enjoy your weekends.
Short form. Sorry?
I can't hear you, Celsia.
Ma'am, I said we have to do it only on short forms, like DGCA, importance of DGCA and the remaining and the rest, like commercial flights.
I'm showing you everything today. From where I started.
From what is aviation.
Exactly. So you have to start from there. What is aviation? You will explain what is aviation, then different segments in aviation, like commercial, cargo, military, helicopters, all these things. Then you explain that what is ICA, what is DGCA, what is their work, what is Airport Authority of India, terminologies of aviation, all the terminologies which I just told you. FO, Captain, ACM, CVR, all these terminologies, ATC, ATCC.
And ma'am, the duration of the PPT?
The
duration, like 7 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yeah, it should be 7 minutes. Don't make it such a long, because then I have to, you are 26 of us here, for example, let's say 20 of us makes a presentation and send it to me for like 15 minutes. It's like too much for me to, judge you on. And it's easy for you because you don't have to spend a lot of time on making a presentation only. So maximum 10 minutes, okay, and make it short and spread and interesting.
Okay, ma'am.
And I'm repeating again because in the last presentation I have seen most of you have not included announcements. Announcements are very important. I'm saying you again and again. They are very important and you're supposed to do the announcement, put the announcement in all your presentations. So grooming, announcements, and then the presentation. These three parameters where we judge you. Okay, so it reminds me that announcement, we have not done any announcement in this week so far. Otherwise, we used to do announcements on every Monday. So tomorrow, all of you prepare your announcement first in Hindi and then in English. I'm repeating this again and again because most of you have not done announcements in Hindi. Marvin, are you there? Marvin, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. I'm here.
Marvin, you did the announcement only in English, right?
Yes.
You're supposed to do it in Hindi and English. First in Hindi and then in English.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So next time when you make a video, what you need to do is you just handling it in your hand and just started doing it. You're supposed to sit properly, groom yourself, your hair, everything should be groomed properly. Wear a shirt, sit in front of a camera, and then say it. Your camera was going here and there and here and there, everywhere. So it was so casual.
Sorry, ma'am. I will not repeat it again.
That's okay, but next time just take care of this thing and make it a proper presentation.
Okay, ma'am.
So now you have attended, all of you have attended this session of aviation management, right? So everybody will make a presentation on aviation management, not only announcements. You're supposed to include the announcement, but not only announcements. Is that clear to everyone? Okay, great. So tomorrow, everybody prepare your announcement first in Hindi and then in English, and don't use the same announcement. The old students especially, don't do the same announcement. Go for a new announcement, because if you keep on doing the old announcement, you will get used to it. So if somebody will ask you to do a new announcement, it will be a task for you and you will get scared. So start doing a different kind of announcement, not the same announcement. Clear? Okay, great. So tomorrow first we'll do the announcements, because it's been long, we have not revised announcements. Okay, okay, what do you understand by clearance in aviation especially? Not that clearance, the normal clearance. The clearance word in aviation, anybody has an idea what does that mean? Yes or no? Okay, what do you understand by clearance in layman language, not in aviation? What do you understand by clearance? Do you understand anything by clearance?
Yeah, baggage clearance, like that.
Yeah, baggage clearance, but what is baggage clearance? What do you do in that baggage clearance? Okay, so clearance is actually, so when you are in the aircraft, sitting in the aircraft is ready to take off. The aircraft has pushed off from doing the taxi from the parking stand to the to the runway. Okay, so once you reach the runway, can you just fly? I mean, the aircraft came from the parking to the runway. Now it's standing on the runway, right? So captain always need a permission from the ATC to take off or to land, whatever it is. So guys, you have to understand one thing, whatever we do, just a moment guys, it's very sunny here, let me put the curtain. Okay. So whatever you are doing on board, especially the captain, for landing, for takeoff, for cruising at this particular altitude, you need permission from the ATC for each and everything, even if you are taking a right turn or a left turn in the aircraft, or when you are landing, you need clearance from the ATC. You need permission from the ATC, and that permission is called the clearance. So even if you are standing on the runway, you are all set for takeoff. Till the time the ATC will not give you the clearance, captain cannot take off. Understood? So that permission from the ATC is called clearance. Is that clear to everyone? So captain do fly the aircraft, but he cannot do whatever he wants to. Okay, may I know the reason? Any one of you can tell me the reason why they need a permission from the ATC all the time when captain can see he can fly the aircraft, why he just can't land and take off the aircraft without the permission? Any one of you, come on.
Because they have to make sure they safety the runway.
I didn't get that. Could you please repeat, Veena?
Because they have to make sure the security of the runway.
They have to make sure of what the runway?
Security of the runway, ma'am. Like
security of the runway as in what? I didn't get that.
Like there will be people walking in between here. Like
exactly, especially not for the people who are walking on the aircraft, because on the runway, because they can't see. I mean, they can see, but they don't. You know. What do I say about that? They don't monitor the people running on the runway. Actually, there is no one running on the runway, but most of the time, if you have any heard, there was an incident when there was a cow on the runway and the aircraft was trying to take off, and the cow has been sucked in by the engines of the aircraft. So there was incidents, because this is India, everything can happen here. So the cow was walking on the runway here. So there was a huge incident. I don't remember the place exactly, but it actually happened. So now they are more, they have made the, that's why here the Airport Authority of India comes into picture. So after this incident, they make sure that the walls of the airport should be at a particular height, and then how they secure the premises of the airport. So now it is not very common that somebody is coming on the runway and walking. Yes, bird hit could be a possibility, but not the people running on the runway or the animals. Generally, ATC gives you clearance, or ATC, the captain needs the permission, because you never know that is there any aircraft landing at the same point of time or taking off from the different runway. Alright, because runways are very large, and aircraft is something when it is on full speed, it's on full throttle. It's very difficult to push back, to pull back and stop the aircraft. Did you get my point? Because the speed is so much, even if the captain sees in front of him that the aircraft is landing, and even if he tries to stop the aircraft, he cannot. The aircraft might skid off the runway. Okay, so they have to take the precautions. That's why the ATC monitor all the aircrafts, and only ATC give the clearance. So if your aircraft is ready for takeoff, but it is not getting the clearance from the ATC, that means there could be a possibility some other aircraft is landing or taking off. Okay, so that's why we need a permission from the ATC, so that there will be no collision of two aircrafts. So if, for example, if you're driving a car and you see a different car in front of you coming from the opposite side, you just stop the car or you just take a side. But in case of aircraft, it's not possible. Aircraft cannot get off the runway and let the other aircraft land or take off. It's not easy. It's risky, right? Because a runway is actually a road, a proper road where only one aircraft can take off or land at a time. Is that clear to everyone? So do you understand what is clearance? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm just looking for other important terminologies. Okay, so deadheading, you understand what is deadheading? What is the role of ACM? What he does?
Deadheading from one point to
It deadhead from one place to another. When a cabin crew, when there is an extra cabin crew on board and he is not doing any work or additional crew member is right, but he is not doing any work, he's just sitting there and that means he is a deadhead. Not deadhead, exactly deadhead, but we call it deadhead because he is not doing anything for us. He's just sitting in the aircraft and just going to his destination just like a passenger, but we don't call it a passenger, we call it additional crew member because that additional crew member in his uniform, in his or her uniform, and but not useful for us. So that's why we call it deadhead. And the process is called deadheading from one place to another. Is that clear? Okay, do you understand the direct flights? What are the direct flights?
Going from one destination to another.
Veena, you need to put your mouth. Your mouth, I can't hear you.
Going from one destination to another.
Yes, but what does the direct flight mean in between? It could be a via flight. Do you understand what are via flights? Okay. So
direct flight is like it doesn't have any other stop in between.
Right. Exactly. Who said this?
Celsia.
Very good, Celsia. The direct flight means there is no stoppage in between. So for example, if I want to go to Bangalore from Delhi, the direct flight is which starts from Delhi and stops in Bangalore. Okay? But via flights are, if I have to go to Delhi, I have to go to Bangalore from Delhi. But if I am stopping in between, for example, the flight first go to Delhi to Mumbai, stops there, and then from Mumbai to Bangalore. So that means via flight. This flight is via Bombay. Is that clear? Understood the difference between direct flights and via flights? Okay, great. Okay, now let's come to E section. That is, do you understand what is ETA? ETA, that is estimated time of arrival. Just write it down. Estimated time of arrival. What does that mean? Any idea?
Arrival time of flight.
Yes, it is the arrival time of the flight which is there on your boarding pass maybe, or which they will, tell you that okay, this is. Do you remember, guys, the old students? We were talking about the captain briefing and the cabin crew briefings. So where captains tell you the actual flying time. Right? So in the briefing, captain tells you the actual flight time. That means the time which has been given to you by the airline. That is not the actual time. Okay, the actual flying time, captain will calculate and then he will tell you. So the estimated time of arrival, the airlines gives you. For example, if you book an e-ticket, it has been written the departure is at this point of time and the arrival is at this point of time. But most of the time, the flights land before time. Why is that? Because all the factors, the wind, the weather, the delays, everything is not included in that. So they just take an approximate time that okay, the flying time is 2 hours, but if the winds are favorable, there is no turbulence, no weather and no delay, you might land before that time, before that particular time which has been given to you by the airline. Okay, so the time which they have given you, that is the estimated arrival time. Estimated time of arrival, one of the same thing. Estimated time of arrival. So most of the time, even captain will tell you, okay, the ETA is this. So he just estimate that is not the exact time which he is telling you. Could be a possibility you are landing 10 minutes late, you are landing 10 minutes before. So as the terminology, as it says, estimated time of arrival, that means it's an estimate. It's not the exact time. Is that clear to you? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
So most of the time, the captain, you will hear this from the captain or from someone else. What is the ETA? This is the most common term, most common thing which we use in our day-to-day life, especially those who are in aviation. So they just ask you, okay, what is the ETA? That means the estimated time of arrival. So even because if two people are from the same profession, like if I meet my friends, we generally use this terminology in our day-to-day life. If I'm going to meet him or her, and I'll call them and I'll say, okay, what is the ETA? What is your ETA? That means what is your estimated time of arrival? Because I'm already there, I'm waiting for you, so I want to know your ETA. So the other person will tell you the approximate time when she will reach. Okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. So that means the next 5 minutes she will be here, and that is the ETA of the arrival. Clear? Any doubt? Ask me if you have any doubt. Okay, ECAM is done. Okay. Now write it down. ECAM. 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 That is electronic centralized aircraft monitor. Electronic centralized aircraft monitor. Let me show you if there is any video on that. So when if you enter in the cockpit, I'm sure not all of you have entered the cockpit. Just a moment. ECAM. Okay, so I'll show you what ECAM is. So when you enter the cockpit, there are 3-4 screens in front of, in between the captain and the first officer's seats. So there is a control panel, not control panel, what do you call it? Central pedestal. And in front of central pedestal, there are 3-4 cams. So we call it ECAMs because the captains will get all the information of the cabin, the doors, the slides, the fire and the in the cabin, in the lavatory, all the indications will come on those e-cams. Okay, so I'll just show you what e-cams are. Let me show you e-cams.
Best offers. Don't miss out.
Today we are in A320 simulator in BA Trading Aviation Academy, and we are going to show you.
Okay guys, so see, can you see the screen? So these are the e-cams, these two and this also. Okay, so this is the central pedestal. So on the central pedestal we have this, with the help of this lever they accelerate the aircraft, and this is the captain, that's the starboard side, that's the port side, and this is the first officer, that's the starboard side. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, just see this video, this is very important video, okay?
Some of the airplane systems which help pilots to fly and to deal with different failures. This system, how you could already guess, is ECAM, which consists of two displays and ECAM control panel. So we are going to describe you today how it operates during normal flight operations and during some abnormals. Let's start with normal. During normal operations, upper display, which is called engine warning display, shows us basic information about our airplane and about our engine parameters. The top left corner shows us basic engine information such as N1, exhaust gas temperature, N2, and fuel flow. So if something wrong happens with engine, you will see this at a glance. The top right corner shows us the N1 mode that is active now, so the thrust setting which auto thrust is limited with. For now it's flaps 86.9%. Fuel on board, flaps configuration. The bottom left part is used for takeoff and landing memos and some other memos during flight. So for example, if our airplane is fit with A-cars, let's say, and if A-cars are not connected to any ground stations, we will see here A-cars standby. And the bottom left part is used for other memos about the airplane systems, such as parking brake, as you can see, landing lights, which are switched on now. And for example, if we switch engine anti-ice on, we will see it here. Let's switch it off for now. The lower display, which is called the system display, shows us the information that corresponds to the current stage of flight. Now we are on the ground with the engines running. It shows us wheel page. So on this page we can see the different information about our landing gear and wheels, such as pressure in tires, temperature of each brake, and so on. If, let's say, we were at the gate with the engine switched off, here will be doors page, which showed us information about slide arming, opened or closed doors, and oxygen pressure in the system. Also, on the lower display we have temperature information, total air temperature and static air temperature, time, which is unfortunately now unavailable on the simulator, and our gross weight. Also we have an ECAM control panel, through which we can choose which system we want to see on the lower display. If lower display displaying some system page automatically, we will not see any lights on this panel. But let's say if we want to see some information about our engines, we will press engines button, the light will illuminate on the push button, and we will see basic engine, other engine information. You can see some other information like bleed, pressurization, electrical, and so on. During abnormal operations, ECAM helps pilots to deal with any failure and shows useful tips how to fly the airplane. So this is why we have much less memory items on the Airbus, because, for example, in case of engine failure, we don't have to remember what to do. ECAM will write us everything. I will show you this with engine fire test. So let's press engine fire test button. So you see, in case of engine fire, we will have basically the name of failure, engine 1 fire, and we will see steps which we need to perform. And these steps correspond to each phase of flight. So for example, APU fire steps are different for flight and for ground. During failure, the lower display will show us the system which corresponds for the main failure. So for example, if we have engine fire, we will have engine page displayed automatically on the lower display. When we perform all the actions which are listed on ECAM, which are called ECAM actions, we will have to look at the status page, which will appear also automatically if we clear the failure from engine warning display. So status page looks like this. Now we show the aircraft status as normal. Just a second. If it's normal, it will disappear after some time. But let's say if we have something abnormal, we will switch off the text to show this. We have status notification here, and on status page we will see PAC 1+2 in operative systems. If we have some tips on how to fly the airplane, or which procedure should be applied, QRH procedure, FCOM or something, we will see everything here. For example, we will switch on elevator and aileron computers, and our airplane will go to alternate lock. So all the necessary tips for flying will be here on this display, like maximum speed, approach procedure, which flaps should be used, and so on. Let's reset it back to normal. Okay, so just to show you how ECAM works on practice, we will fly a short circuit around the Brussels airport with engine failure at V1. Dovidas will be pilot flying, I will be pilot monitoring. We will do ECAM actions like they should be done by Airbus procedures. Let's try it.
Before takeoff checklist, please. Before takeoff checklist, below the line. Takeoff runway. 25 left. 25 left, confirm. Cabin crew, advised. Tick gas. PA, alright. Engine mode selector, normal. Packs. Before takeoff checklist completed, below the line. Thank you. Advance power. Tower BA320, ready for departure runway, 25 left.
BA320, clear for takeoff, 25 left, wind calm.
Clear for takeoff runway, 25 left, BA320.
Okay, parking brake. On. Ready? Great.
Takeoff.
And left, 60, SRS, runway, autopilot, blue. Check, that's it.
Check. V1, rotate, engine 1 failure. Positive climb, you're up. Now, checked. Yeah, 3 for 10 seconds. Is it autopilot?
Autopilot on. Check. Fire controls communications, ECAM actions.
ECAM actions. Engine 1 fail. Thrust level 1 idle.
Confirm first level 1. Confirm. Idle.
Checked. No engine relights. Engine master 1 off.
B30, we have engine terminator standby.
So M2 is decreasing, DGT decreasing. So no relights. Engine master. Confirm engine master?
Confirm.
Engine master 1 off. No damage, so we stop ECAM. We are above engine out, acceleration altitude, you may push to level off.
Level up. Vertical speed.
Okay guys, so they are getting quite technical. You don't need to know all these things, but do you understand what is ECAM and what are the function of ECAMs? Is that clear to everyone? Okay, so what ECAM does? What information do you get from the ECAMs? Not only engine functions in the cabin, tells you about the temperature, tells you about the slides, tells you about the doors as well. Okay, it does tell you about the engines, but you guys need to know what information do you get in the ECAMs about the cabin. So about the cabin, it will tell you about the temperature. In case there is a decompression, you will get the indication there. In case there is a fire, you will get the indication there. It will tell you about the slides, it's armed or disarmed. It will tell you about the doors, it's open or it's closed. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. So after ECAMs, what is ELT, guys? I've told you about this ELT. That's an emergency equipment. The old student, I'm asking you. Veena? What is ELT? Saurav, you are there?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please switch on your camera?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you understand by ELT? That is the equipment, the emergency equipment which I have told you guys.
Emergency transmitter locator.
ELT is emergency locator transmitter, right? Who just said that?
My Janvi.
Okay, Janvi, what is the function of ELT? What is you said the right thing, that is emergency locator transmitter. But what is the use of ELT?
It locates the aircraft and from.
I'm sorry?
From it locates the it tells where the emergency in the aircraft.
It tells you where the emergency in the aircraft. Shubham, right? Yes. In the aircraft? No.
No.
When do you use ELT in case of emergency? Veena?
Ma'am, like during an emergency, they will give us the signal.
I'm sorry?
During an emergency, like a structural damage or something like that, it will be giving us the signal. I don't know. I think something like that.
Okay. So ELT is emergency locator transmitter. It helps in case you have crash landed in a forest. Okay. So you want to send the signals to the to the search the people who are searching the aircraft. If you have crash landed somewhere, that means you are out of the radar. So ATC cannot locate you. ATC can locate you till the time you are, they can see you on the radar. If the aircraft is out of the radar, that means there is some emergency which they can't locate you. So they send the rescue teams to locate where the last location has been traced of the aircraft. Right? So they just send people to search the aircraft. So in order, how they will search you? So ELT is actually an equipment. So in case of crash landing, when you are evacuating, you take few equipments along with you, and ELT is one of the equipment which you will take with you. So ELT is actually transmit the signals. Alright, it has different frequencies, just like a radio. Radio has different frequencies, right? You must have heard 92.3, 98 point something, 101 point something. These are the frequencies of the radio. When you set this frequency, you will hear what the other person, or maybe you will hear the songs or whatever. You guys are aware about that, right? You know how radio works. Have you ever listened to a radio?
Yes, ma'am.
A radio channel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you set a frequency and then you will hear the songs, right? Similarly, if you take the ELT with you, you just different aircraft have different ELT, so I'm not telling you in detail about this. Just understand ELT, there is an equipment which helps you to locate. So if you take the ELT with you, you should know how to operate it. Once it will start operating, you will execute that. It will send the signals to the rescue team, so the rescue team can find you out and rescue from there and take you to a safe place. So ELT actually helps you to locate. So the rescue team can come and rescue from there. Is that clear? So that's why as the name suggests, emergency locator transmitter. So in case of emergency, it locates you by transmitting the signals. Is that clear? Any doubts with the ELT thing? Any doubts, guys? Answer me in yes or no, then I'll come to know.
No, ma'am.
Is that clear to everyone?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, I have told ETA. Now you tell me what is ETD.
Estimated time of departure.
Exactly. So ETD is estimated time of departure. What does that mean? You better explain.
Repeat one time. Please repeat once again, ma'am. Estimated
I'm sorry?
time of departure.
estimated time.
Time of departure. So it's similarly the estimated time of arrival. That's and the estimated time of departure. So if somebody asks you what is the estimated time of departure, what exactly they are asking you, what does that mean?
When we take the ticket in that below the estimated time of arrival, the departure time is also written.
Exactly. So I'm asking, if I say the estimated time of departure is 5 o'clock, what does that mean?
That means that by 5 o'clock we might reach. The estimated time is 5 o'clock. It can even go, it can be even delayed due to any reason.
Exactly. Very good, Celsius. So it is estimated time of departure. That means that is not the exact time, but most probably we will depart. We will depart at that particular time. Could be a possibility. Estimated time, you can say approximately time. We will depart approximately 5 o'clock. So when I say approximately, that means most probably you will depart by 5 o'clock. But that is not the exact time. Could be a possibility there is a delay. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's ETD, estimated time of departure, ETA, estimated time of arrival, and there is one more, that is ETR, estimated time of en route. I guess it's like that. Estimated time en route. So I'll just write it down in the chat box. Time
estimated time in?
Time en route. Wait, I'll write it down in the chat box. Time en route. That means the actual flying time. En route, that means when the aircraft has took off and will land. The time in between, the actual flying time is the time en route. So it could vary the weather. So if the ETE is 2 hours, could be a possibility you are landing late by 10 minutes, for example 2 hours 10 minutes, or you are landing 10 minutes prior, for example 1 hour 50 minutes. But the estimate time also, you guys should know what exactly it is. Estimated time en route. Why there is a delay? Or anything like that happens? You have heard of time. But what does it mean that estimated time en route? If the time, the flying time is 2 hours, what are the possibilities and why the possibility is there that we will delay?
Weather changes.
Because of weather?
Because of weather. So if the weather is not clear to land, could be a possibility the aircraft will go around, actually do the circling. So when I say the aircraft is doing the circling, that means the aircraft is not landing, but it is in the air and waiting for the weather to clear. For example, if it is raining somewhere, the ATC will not give you the clearance. If it is raining very heavily, it happens in Cochin a lot. If it is raining very heavily, the ATC will not give the clearance to the pilot to land because it is risky and could be a possibility the aircraft skids off the runway. Till the time the weather is not clear and the rain will not settle down, the ATC will not give you the clearance. So by the time, even if you have reached Cochin, you have to do a circling for some time and wait for the ATC to give you the clearance. Only then you will come and land. Okay, so weather is the major reason for any kind of delay or anything. Any delay, any prepone, postpone, anything like that. Weather is the main reason. Okay, so it could be a possibility your en route time will extend a little bit by 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and could be a possibility you will divert somewhere else. Do you understand what diversions are? Diversion means you're supposed to land in Cochin, but because of weather conditions, you cannot land. You have done the circling, you have waited for the ATC to give you the clearance, but you are running out of fuel, right? Because the aircraft can fly for a particular time and it depends on the fuel in the aircraft. So if you are doing the circling a lot of time and still you are not getting the clearance, but now you're supposed to land somewhere, you cannot just stay in the air for such a long time, right? So then you will ask the ATC that, the fuel is less, I cannot circle for next, for example, 30 minutes. So ATC will ask you to divert to some other airport where the weather is better and you can land. Okay, so for example, the ATC will ask you to land in what is the nearest airport to the Cochin airport? Trivandrum. Just say Trivandrum. Okay, so you will land in Trivandrum. So you will go to Trivandrum, land there, but you will not let any of the passengers go out of the aircraft, because as soon as the weather gets better in Cochin, you will take off from Trivandrum and land in Cochin. So no passenger will go out. If the passengers will go out, they will start roaming around at the airport. Then it will take time for you as an airline to, ask them, collect them, and then you ask them to board. It is time consuming. It will take another 1 hour. So you don't let the passenger go out of the aircraft. You, along with the passengers and along with the captain, stay on board. And as soon as you get the clearance from the ATC that the weather is better in Cochin, now you can take off from here and you can land in Cochin. You just close the door and you just take off from there and land in Cochin. Understood? So this is called diversion. That means you're supposed to land in Cochin, but because of the weather, you did not get the clearance and you diverted to Trivandrum. So this is called diversion. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, that's all for E. So it's ETA, ECAM, ELT, ETD, ETR, ETE, diversion, okay, that's all for E. Now let FDR. One of the so-called black box, it is actually penetrating iron very easily and let's look. Okay, in that video they have also talked about the previous video I'm talking about, when the CVR video. That guy talked about FDR also, right? Flight data recorder. What is flight data recorder? You saw a video, what does that mean?
Data of all the passengers in the flight.
No sense, yeah. So flight data recorder, that means the aircraft flies on a particular range, numbers. So the speed of the aircraft, the height of the aircraft, the number of passengers, we call it souls on board, the cargo, the weight of the aircraft, all these information we call it data, because it deals with the numbers, right? So this is also, we have some flight data recorder, that means it records everything. So if you have seen in the ECAMs, especially, there are lots of switches in front of the pilots, and they just keep on typing the numbers on it, if you have seen. So if they get any information from the ATC, they just type few numbers. Similarly, before the flight, they're supposed to do a paperwork, and in that paperwork, the time and everything, the number of passengers, the cargo, the fuel, all these numbers has been written down in this. So when they enter the cockpit, they do their pre-flight checks and they enter all these numbers in the system. So that means that's the data they are entering in the system, which tells you in case of crash or whatever it is. That's how you come to know that these many souls on board, this much was the cargo, this much was the fuel. Okay, so they just enter all these things in the system. So who collects all these information? That is flight data recorder. It is actually a data. Do you understand what data is?
Yes.
What is data?
The speed of aircraft, height of aircraft, number of passengers, weight of the cargo.
No, in general, I'm not talking about in what data and But what is the aircraft in aviation? But data in general. Data in general means you have the information about something. Okay, so this is actually the information of that particular aircraft, which they enter in the flight data in the system, and that system is called flight data recorder. That means it has all the data of that particular flight. Clear? So CVR is different in flight data recorder, FDR is different. CVR is cockpit voice recorder. So it records the voice, the conversation which happens in the cockpit. FDR is flight data recorder, it records the data which captain enters in the system. And it is generally about the passengers, the height, the speed, the fuel, the cargo, all this information. Is that clear? Is that clear, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
FDR is done. Okay, what are ferry flights? Any idea what are ferry flights?
I'm just typing chat box.
Sorry?
Typing chat box. I don't know, clear.
These are not the cargo flights. Any idea? Anyone? What are the ferry flights? Ferry flights means the flight is empty, no cargo, no passenger, but all the cabin crew and the captains. For example, if it is Airbus A320, then 4 cabin crew, 2 captains, empty flight. You are going from point A to point B with no passenger but all the cabin crew and captain, and you are going there, you are going to point B with no passenger but you are coming back with the passengers. That means when you are going from Delhi to Bangalore, you don't have any passenger on board. But when you are coming from Bangalore to Delhi, the flight is full with the passengers. So these kind of flights are actually happens when there is all the army persons on board. Most of the time, not every time, most of the time, if there is a war or something, I'm just giving you example. If there is a war, so all the we need to go there and get all the soldiers from that place to the another place. For example, we are going to Srinagar. We are not taking any passengers to whenever there is a war in a particular state or in a particular country. So nobody wants to go there, right? Now, if for example, if we have a war with China, you guys will not fly to China. So nobody will fly from India to China. But if we have our people there in China, we try to rescue them. So we will ask all those people to come in that aircraft and we will bring them back. In case of this COVID also, Indians were there in Wuhan also, in Wuhan and in different parts of the world. So we took the ferry flight to that particular place and we took our people, Indians from that place back to India. Okay, so when we are taking empty flights to some place, to some other country or to some other state, the empty flight but with all the cabin crew and pilots, that is called ferry flight. Have you guys seen that movie of Akshay Kumar? I forgot the name of the movie. There was a movie where Akshay Kumar. Sorry, which one? Airlift. Exactly, airlift. So airlift, they rescued all the Indians from that place back to India. And the flights when they were going to, what was the name of that place? Those were the Air India flights. I forgot the name of the place.
Kuwait, ma'am.
Kuwait, right. So from Kuwait, when the aircraft was going from Delhi to Kuwait, those were the empty aircrafts. But they were asked the people, all the Indians, to come back. So all the Indians were there at the airport and they rescued all the Indians back to Delhi. Okay, so that was a rescue program. So when the flight went to Kuwait, it was an empty flight, but when it comes back, it was a full flight. There was, I don't know, so many aircrafts actually went there and they bring all the Indians back. So every country, it's not only in India, every country, for example, some people are stuck in COVID case. Wuhan was the center point. So many countries took their aircrafts to Wuhan and asked their people to come back to their country. And India also does that. So they took the ferry flights and they bring back all the citizens of that particular country. Is that clear to everyone? Do you understand what are the ferry flights now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. What a ferry flight.
Ma'am, please do a spelling of ferry. Spelling of ferry.
I'm sorry?
Spelling of ferry. Spelling.
Who spent on ferry?
Ferry. Spelling.
Okay, so it's the government who spent on ferry flights because it is this is something to do with the government to the country. So if you are asking your people to come back, the private, it depends. Most of the time it's Air India only because it's a government airline, right? So actually the government is the one who bears all the expenses. But there are few airlines, for example, Indigo. I heard Indigo in the last few days, they also took the ferry flights to Srinagar and get the soldiers back or something like that. So it's their choice. If they want to do it without any profit, they can do it. But they have to take the initiative. If I am the owner of Indigo and if I want to take the initiative, I will say, okay, I don't want any profit. I just want to do it for my country. So they can do it. But most of the time it's Air India only. First thing, they have a bigger aircraft. Domestic airlines, they don't have a bigger aircraft, so they don't go international. Okay, so if they want to go international, it's only Air India. First thing, it's government airlines. Second thing, they have a bigger aircraft. So there are more passengers can be rescued. The domestic airlines, they can fly for 6 hours. So all the destinations which comes under 6 hours, and if they are willing to do it without any profit, they can do it. Is that clear? Okay, now write FL, that is flight level. What do you understand by flight level?
A class, B class, like that.
No. I'm talking about flight level.
The level at which it should be flying.
Exactly. That is the altitude of the aircraft from the land. So FL is the flight level. It's actually the altitude of the aircraft on the ground. Is that clear? Okay. At what altitude the aircraft flies? Any idea, guys?
5,000 feet.
How much, Sesha?
35,000.
35,000 feet. Right. FO, I have told you. I have also talked about FN, that is fleet number. What is FN? Who will tell me? Fleet number. I've discussed this.
What type of aircraft we are going?
Exactly, Meena. So, fleet number is actually the type of aircraft. So, I'll give you a normal example. For example, we are talking about cars. So, we have different models in cars, right? We have, for example, we can say we have Swift, we have Octavia, we have Hyundai. So these are the different, what do you call that? Registration number. No, registration number, it's not the registration number, Shubham, it's actually the fleet number. For example, if I'm talking about Boeing, so Boeing have different aircrafts. For example, in Maruti has different cars, right? So different cars, similarly different aircraft. So if I'm talking about Boeing, the two major companies which we have in the aircraft industry is Airbus and Boeing. Okay, so Airbus have different aircrafts. Airbus have small aircrafts. Airbus has bigger aircraft. For example, Airbus A320 is a smaller aircraft. Airbus A380 is a bigger aircraft. Okay, so those are the fleets. Those are not the fleets actually. They have different aircraft. Similarly, Boeing has a Boeing 737, 777. In 777 further, they have two types of aircraft. Boeing 777-200, Boeing 777-300. So they are the different types of aircraft. But Boeing and Airbus, they are two different fleets. Is that clear? Or any confusion? So Boeing has different aircrafts, Airbus has different aircraft. For example, somebody asked me, on which fleet do you fly? So when they ask me which fleet do you fly, that means they want to know on which aircraft I am flying. Okay, so I will tell them, okay, I fly on Boeing 777, or I fly on Airbus A380, or I fly on A320. Okay, so fleet number, that means they want to know on which aircraft type you are flying. So fleet number is a type of aircraft. Easy to remember. Okay. The registration number is different. So registration number, that means every aircraft has a name. Like we have names, all the aircrafts in this world has a registration number, and that is their name. Okay, I'm giving you an example. Don't explain it like that. What is registration number? That is the name of the aircraft. No, don't say it like that. I'm just trying to make you understand. So every aircraft has a unique registration number, which makes them different from the another aircraft. What makes us different? Our names. In case our names are same, then our surnames will differentiate, right? Similarly, in case of aircraft, they have a unique registration number. Each and every aircraft has a unique registration number. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the F1 is also completed. Okay guys, so I think we'll call it off for today. All these abbreviations, do you have any, have you wrote it down all the abbreviations? All of them which I have told you, I'm not taking each and every one, I'm just telling you the important one which is very important and which you will come across day-to-day life when you want to, if you want to join aviation. So these are the most common terminologies which we use. Okay? So now I want to tell you, start preparing your presentations. Okay? Today onwards, start working on it. If you have any doubt, if you start working on it, you will, start searching about it, then you will have doubt about it, and then we can discuss those doubts. But if you will do it on the weekends, then you cannot ask anything to anyone. So you cannot just, because there will be no class on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you will start doing it and then you will have doubt, you cannot ask anyone. So it's better if you start doing it today. If you have any doubt, ask me tomorrow. And if you have any doubt again, you can ask me day after also. On Fridays also, if you have any doubt. I can give you time, but why I'm asking you do it in these 2 days? Because I want you guys to be perfect this time. few of you did very well in the last presentations also, but this time I want it to be perfect. Okay, so start working on it today itself. Any doubts, we'll discuss it tomorrow. Okay, and if you want to add something new, we will discuss the ideas and all those things. So submit it on Monday, that's fine, but start working on it today itself. And this time I want, yes Meena.
Like last time, we have to make the video or PPT or both.
What do you want to do? I think presentation is better than the video one. So do one thing, make a presentation as the background. You better explain it, so both the things will be done, your presentation and your video. Okay? But tomorrow, one more thing, prepare your announcement. The first thing we will do tomorrow is the announcements. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
The first announcements, then we will go further with these terminologies, and then if we have any doubts on the presentation, we will discuss that. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. What the subject of the presentation? Subject aviation management.
Aviation management, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So everybody is making the presentation on the same subject because this is a small topic. So I cannot give you different topics from this. So everybody make presentation on this because everybody is using their own brain. So it will be different from each other.
Then we have to cover only the topics you said, right?
We have to cover what?
Only the one you told us.
I did not get your point.
Like she's asking that they have to add the abbreviations also, or only the main topic.
Abbreviations, yeah, this is the little tricky point. So when you are explaining in the presentation itself, so for example, if you are talking about the flying time in between and you talk about the diversions, don't you don't have to make it a different section altogether where you are explaining all the terminologies, but use these terminologies in between the presentation. Did you get my point? So don't just in the end start talking about the abbreviations like ETA, ETD, no. In the presentation itself, use those terminologies. So you don't need to explain it towards the end. Because the terminologies, for example, estimated time of arrival, estimated time of departure, flying time, fleet number, these things you can add in between the presentation when you are describing DGCA. So what DGCA does? So the role of DGCA, you can add these abbreviations, ferry flights, what are the ferry flights, what DGCA judge you want, what is the role of ICAO. Did you get my point? Or you just don't understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you get that, Saitya?
Yes, ma'am.
Try to do it. If you are not able to do it, we'll discuss it tomorrow. Okay? Don't worry about it, but just put little effort. Only then I can help you. Okay?
And we have to create presentation on what we have learned
Aviation
today.
management. We have started new topic, aviation management. It's been long you were not in the class, Saurabh. What happened?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, my router was not working, so I repaired it now. So from today, I will be regular.
It's been how long you were not in the class?
I think it's more than a week.
Okay, so then you have to go to the recorded sessions and just go through it and understand what I was explaining in the last 2 days. So it was aviation management, that was a new topic, and it has been completed, so you need to make a presentation on that, and it's better if you go through the recorded sessions, so it will be easy for you. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.